It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Thursday, May 9th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Sermons in the Sky, QNA Thursday word study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is a Thursday. We're getting towards the end of the week. Hope you guys have enjoyed your week thus far. We do have not just Q&A Thursday today, but every single week. So get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. Now, I'm just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Our Hope is God's Purpose of Creation. All right, so it is Thursday morning. By the time you hear this podcast, I will already be at the airport getting ready to take off to Taiwan. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm a little bit scared, especially because the weather is crazy terrible in Malaysia. We're talking thunderstorms galore, and yeah, it's so bad on the freeway. Like on the way home today, there was so much rain coming down that we were on the freeway going 30 to 40 kilometers an hour because there's zero visibility. Like even on our, our navigation apps, it's all warning us like it says weather hazard. Like that's how bad it is, right? And for me, I'm a little bit nervous, but the good thing is the weather doesn't always stay like this, especially in Malaysia. It rains for like 2 hours and it's done. And then it's like completely silent, right? But I just hope that the weather will be good tomorrow morning. And I hope that I can just enjoy a safe trip without much turbulence in the plane. I just don't want to go through any of the heartache of the plane going up and down and around, stuff like that too. But that's kind of what the weather is like in Malaysia. Now, I was talking to a couple people about the weather. It's very, very uncommon right now, this weather. And we're kind of thinking like, is this judgment? Like just knowing what is happening spiritually, what's happening with the trial, everything else. We're like, is this like a spiritual thing? Something that's affecting every country in the world? And, there's been all these natural disaster things that are uncommon happening around the world. Like I know the last big disaster I think that I can remember is going to be the earthquake in Taiwan. But anything strange going on in your nation too, whether it's a natural disaster or things with politics or things with, like wars and stuff like that. What is happening in your country? Like Malaysia not only has thunderstorms, right? And this is quite uncommon for this time of the year. But 2 days ago, huge tree, like gigantic tree that fell over during one of the storms yesterday, 2 days ago, and it crushed a man in a car. So that one guy died. And this tree was so big, it hit 17 other vehicles. And on top of it, it fell onto the monorail. So it damaged the monorail too. Like that's how huge this tree was. But it's really uncommon to see this much damage. The rain is so bad, and I don't know. That's kind of the things that are going on over here. What about you guys? Is there anything like this happening over on in your country right now too? Because I'm in Malaysia, that's all I really see is Malaysian news, and I don't know exactly all the other different things except when people send to me like, oh, this is what's happening in Taiwan, this is what's happening in this country here too. But let me know if it's not just Malaysia, but if other countries are going through the exact same thing. Also, I just had a live, not just, but I had a live stream in the morning today. Really happy to do my live stream here in Malaysia. It's actually my last day in the studio here at the church, and very, very grateful and thankful for the church allowing me to use that room so I can So I'll be able to, record and do the live streams over there. I actually even recorded an extra, like, pre-recorded video because I'm leaving to Taiwan today. right? So just in case, I already have a pre-recorded video, like ready to go, but I recorded another one just in case. So yeah, I'm excited to see what will happen in Taiwan, right? I really am. Well, just quick question: how many guys were able to see the live stream? Right, and I know it's going to be a little bit more difficult for people in Asia, but much easier for people over there in the U.S. and Canada, right? So, how many of you guys were able to see the live stream? I have a lot of fun on the live streams, just being able to see all the people comment and stuff like that too. And super thankful to all the people out there who give advice and feedback. One member from Taiwan just told me like, "Hey, we need more eye contact with the audience." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I did more of that, and yeah, until people tell me that feedback, I'm not even sure. Like, I don't even know that I'm looking at I don't know that it looks like I know I do have to look at my notes on the board, but I know a lot of times I could just be looking at the camera, which is a little bit weird because there's no one staring back at me. Sometimes I'll just look at my tech, the person on tech and stuff like that too. But I finally did the video today on Jacob wrestling with God and what it actually means. So this video is actually, I had a YouTube short about Jacob wrestling with God, and this is the most watched YouTube short that I have. It's like 20,000, and it also has the most comments too. So I had to do a video on this because that's kind of how the YouTube algorithm actually works. So I'm yeah, I had a really good time. Thank you so much for all the people that are supporting. I hope that you guys will enjoy these podcasts each and every week. Of course, next week I will be in Taiwan. And the week after, if I extend my ticket, I will be there longer. If not, we'll see what happens. But I'm actually really curious of what I'm going to do in Taiwan. I really am because right now the only schedule I'm 100% sure of is the volleyball tournament. And I was invited to play by one of the teams there too, and I'm very very happy about this also. And I'm that's about it that I know for sure. Yeah, of course, I'm going to meet some people here and there, but there's nothing really official being made. And I really want to run a bit. Like I caught the bug when I was in Korea. When I was in Korea, I was able to go around, help out with volleyball clinics and helping them with some educations on sports and stuff like that too. And I think. I really feel like, yeah, I got to do something. So I think the schedule is being made, or like it's kind of being put together with, and I'll probably get a better schedule for next week. But yeah, like I said before, today was the last day in my studio. I had one pre recorded message from before. Tuesday night, like it was like 11 p.m. I recorded another pre-recorded one, and then I did the live stream on Wednesday morning. So I was just exhausted, but I will be moving to a new studio when I get back. So it's going to be nice to go to a new place, and just really excited about this too. And also today I also went to go see some apartments here in Malaysia also. So I am very excited about moving out on my own too. And like even the apartment I saw today is just so nice. It's so nice just to see it and being able to like, wow, like this could be my place, and I could be here for the next year and stuff like that too. So I'm very, very excited about that also. But you know what? What's the interesting thing is, after coming back from Korea, and I'm sure after coming back from Taiwan, I don't see Malaysia as my only option, as interesting as that is, which is kind of weird too. That, the moment I'm getting to settle myself in, when I think I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna find an apartment to stay. It's like this is a time when I think I'm going to go. Like it's possible I can go somewhere else. Like I start to think about the reasons why I could go to another country. And one of the things that I think for myself, which is a very, very important thing for me, I realize this once again after being in Korea, is the impact I'm able to make on people. And I start to think about where I can actually make an impact. Like not just the internet ministry impact, but like say meeting people or doing lecture training or doing this or that or lectures and stuff like that to get myself back into it. And where can I actually make an impact in the place that I'm actually at too? So it makes me think very, very carefully. And like I said, after running in Korea, and I know that I'm going to do some stuff over there in Taiwan. So I think it's possible my heart could change too. Don't get me wrong, I love Malaysia. And I do believe I will be here for the short time being. And I'm not sure if it's going to be long term here or not. Still praying and thinking. But yeah, the time in Korea really opened my eyes. And I do believe that my time in Taiwan will probably play a huge role too in what I'm thinking about for my future also. So yeah, it's very interesting. Oh, I got a haircut today. So after my live stream, I went to go get a haircut. And, I want to make sure I look a little bit decent for my trip to Taiwan. And like I said, I have a feeling I'm going to be very busy. Very busy. And I even have a feeling that it's possible I could extend my trip. But I feel like I will get more work done over there than I will over here. Right? Like I said, just the feeling after going to Korea, seeing what type of work I was able to do there, even in that short amount of time, like just because the country's bigger, the scale is bigger, there's more opportunity for bigger work to be done. So I think that Taiwan will be very, very good too. Oh, I had a very interesting conversation today with another leader. And very, very interesting conversation because we talked about the value or the valuing of a pastor. Right? And the reason this came up is because I was telling my friend, like, oh yeah, I went to get a haircut, and this person's also Christian, but because they know I'm a pastor, they basically give me a discount, like a pastor's discount. And we're like, oh, that's so cool. But we're talking about, it's really interesting, right? So we start talking about pastors, like just being a pastor and such. And one thing that they said was very, very shocking to a lot of people is when I told, like, in my testimony of me growing up when I was like 14 years old, my dream was to become a pastor, right? And this shocked a lot of people. Not a lot, but some people were really shocked by it. Not because, it's like, oh, your dream was to be a pastor and then you became a pastor, but because in some countries, being a pastor is not like a well-known thing. It's not something that's known as a profession, right? Like we're talking inside Providence. It shocked some people. The discussion came about of whether people, what is the value of a pastor in Providence to people? Like if I think to myself right now, if you go to America, in the former faith, being a pastor is a really respected profession. Right? People are respected. People are, they can live off being a pastor and stuff. And like even people in the former faith, when they find out that I'm a pastor, they treat me so well. Just like that Christian who knows I'm a pastor gives me a discount on a haircut. And he's given me a discount for like 4 years. And, I'm super grateful and thankful. But it was interesting because a question I would bring to you guys is, what does your country think about pastors? Is it considered a respected profession, or do people look at it as, oh, wow, that's a great sacrifice? So is it a real profession, like a real job, or is it just something you look at and say, oh, it's a sacrifice that they're doing? Like, do people ever want to become a pastor as a real job in the world? Or would your parents or people respect that? Or is it just seen as a sacrifice, like not a real profession? Like when I go to Korea is very interesting because in the former faith, man, being a pastor is huge. It is crazy respected. Pastors are treated at such a high level. And like even in Korean Providence, it is treated at such a high level to the point I feel uncomfortable. Like that's to that point when they know, oh, Pastor Sky, and they take me out, they treat me the way they treat me and such. It's almost to the point it's uncomfortable. Like, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do this, right? They treat me so well. And it's because of my title. But in other countries, is it the same? Is it valued? Is it considered high level? Like I'm talking inside a Providence church. Like sometimes what I see is sometimes pastors, like just the level of pastors or whatever it is, it's not treated that well inside their country. But say if a Korean pastor comes, it's treated at a very, very high level. And I think part of it is actually how someone becomes a pastor. I think that's another big thing. Because if you're in a smaller country, being a pastor is not done by schooling or training. It's just that because there's not enough people are just put into that position even if they're not qualified, right? So that this is especially in smaller countries. Like there's no one else, so people are just thrown into that position. So then the value of a pastor is not as high because they're not as qualified. They haven't gone through some rigorous process. And is not treated like it's something huge. It's just, oh, we don't have anything, so we're, this is just what we're going to do. So my question to you guys out there is, what do you think the level of or the value of being a pastor is in your country? I'm not talking about how you value pastors from other countries, but inside your own country, right? I'm talking about Providence churches, not in the former faith. And like I said, I know some countries, religion may not even seem as a very high level thing, but I'm curious what you think of what people feel the value of being a pastor or a head leader is in your country. Is it considered a profession, or is it considered a sacrifice? And I thought that was the person I was talking to about this, I thought that was like a brilliant analysis of the difference of what people think a pastor could be. Is it a profession or a sacrifice? Is it something people really aspire to, that they're really trying to become a head leader and a pastor? Like, remember, I'm talking inside Providence. Like, if people are really aspiring to be a pastor, then are there people who are training and lining up to become head leaders? Is there the next group of head leaders coming in? And, are people looking highly upon these pastors, and are people trying to become one where there's like competition for it? Because one thing I think is very valuable is you need to have more people who want to be pastors than there are positions. Why? Because that creates competition. And competition allows people to become, it pushes them to become better and better than the people around them so that they will be chosen instead of someone else. Right? Because like I said, there's a huge difference between looking highly upon a pastor because you truly respect and think that it's such a high level, or if you're just looking at this mission, it's just a huge sacrifice. It takes a lot of time and effort. You don't get much from it. And because it's such a sacrifice, you treat people well. It's almost like, it's not like you feel sorry for them. It's just because it's such a huge sacrifice that you're like, oh, okay, so because it's a huge sacrifice, oh, that's why I respect this much. Or is it really seen like, for instance, a doctor or a lawyer as this huge position that's put up as an elite position kind of thing, right? So that is something that I was thinking, is that the way you guys look at the position of a pastor? Do you guys see it in that way? And if you do, just kind of like maybe in the comment section, like maybe you can give a scale. Like if you were to give a 10 out of 10, that means it's highly, highly respected profession, like a doctor and a lawyer. That's like a 10, right? Like, those super highly, a CEO of a business or something along that line. And I would say that average type of job would be like a 5, 6, right? Like a 5, that's an average. Or maybe we'll say 6 is an average. And then, of course, somewhere along that line, anything under 5 is like, it's not really seen as a very, very high position. And it's more of like what we're saying is you look at it not as a real profession, not valued in that way, but more valued as, oh, look at these people. They're sacrificing so much for this. And, I personally think it's going to be different from country to country. I think it will be, right? Because like I said before, smaller countries, they'll probably see it as less valuable because you'll have less qualified people, and you'll have people that are put there because there's no one else, right? There's no one else to do that position. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. It's just that's the size of the country, so the scale is much smaller. But say when I go to Korea, there's still people waiting in line for the next available head leader position. There is. Right? There's not enough positions for the amount of people that want to be head leaders or assistant leaders or something along that line. So when I see that, I'm like, that's kind of interesting that it's like this. So that is something that I'm genuinely curious about. I'm wondering what you guys think about that too. So just let me know what you guys think about that also. So yeah, I'm having a lot of deeper thoughts about, like I said before, about my future. And I personally think that my future is going to be tied to what happens to Sunstein this year. Like how early he comes out. You know what I mean? Like I really feel something along this line is going to have a big effect on like even where I live. And that's why I'm kind of like, should I really, like how how willing am I to put myself into a year contract? Say for an apartment or something like that. How willing am I to do this, right? So that is something that I really thought about, and it's something that I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, what am I going to do in the future? And of course, it's something that I have been thinking about for a while. But like I said, my eyes were kind of open during the Korea trip. And I think it's going to be even more open during this Taiwan trip. And it's going to kind of open my eyes to this is the real possibilities of what I'm really truly able or capable of doing also. So yeah, that's kind of the things that have been in my heart and my mind. So I would love to see what is going on in your hearts and minds also, and what you guys feel for yourself coming for this year, 2024. All right. So yeah, I'm very grateful, thankful for all of you guys out there who are always in support. And I'm hoping that if you guys have any questions or things that you want me to discuss, go ahead, put them in the comments below. Right, I would love to hear some things like, oh, I'm really curious about this, or I'm really thinking about this or that. If you have any of those things, just let me know. I would love to discuss those questions also. It's kind of like us having a conversation where you could tell me like, oh, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about this? But yeah. That's something that I do want to hear. We are getting to the end of the week because tomorrow's already Friday, so I'm super excited about that too. And of course, I'll be in my next recording for my Friday podcast. I will be in Taiwan for that podcast, so it's going to be very different there also. Okay. So today is Q&A Thursday. We do have three questions that came out, so we will take a look at them also. So I hope it's something that we can really look on. These are good questions too. So I hope you guys will enjoy the Q&A Thursday also. All right. So before we get into Q&A Thursday, let's get into the first music break of the day.
Y'all ready for this?
Shown you love me with things you've given. You know I love you. I'm already singing about the stories that we have together. It's here forever. It will only get better from now on. Everything that you've given, I'm so grateful. Let me show you my love, 'cause I'm so thankful. Let us dance on the streets. Let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me. Watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind. I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, 'cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, 'cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat, our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat, our love so complete.
You've shown your loving, you gave me a chance. And with the mistakes I've made, I've never fallen away from you. Though times are rough, it'll be okay, 'cause I am never, ever, ever gonna leave you astray. Ay, thunderstorms are a little scary, but with you, I won't feel weary. Even on cloudy days when skies are gray, my heart's a cave, the sun will shine through the rain today. Let us dance on the streets. Let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me. Watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind. I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, 'cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, 'cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say
All right, so let's get into today's Q&A Thursday. Lots of three really, really good questions, and I hope it's something that you guys will learn from also. We're going to start off with the first one, which has to do with the lecture of Noah's flood. Okay, so we are teaching, this question comes from a newcomer, and we're teaching, of course, we teach in Noah's flood that it's a regional flood. But since it says that the water covered all the highest mountains, it seems impossible that the water covered even the top of Mount Ararat. And we know that Mount Ararat is about 16,000 feet high, right above sea level. And it depends on, where did and if you see where the ship landed, it takes a tremendous amount of water. So did the water actually cover Mount Ararat? If so, would like to hear an explanation of how this is scientifically consistent. Okay, so I would say number one is this is a great question from a newcomer. Why? Because if the newcomer is already thinking this way, what's good about it? It means that if you're really thinking this way in a reasonable way, you have already ruled out the worldwide flood. Right? You've already ruled it out. Because if you're going to ask for this exact same evidence to come out, no one could say that it was a worldwide flood. Right? So the first question is, did the waters actually cover Mount Ararat? If so, I would like to hear an explanation of how this is scientifically consistent. Okay? So firstly, looking at some of the evidence of the Mesopotamia region and how great the floods were at that time, there is evidence of a massive regional flood at that time. And I think I was reading it. It said it was so massive, the flood, that it spanned as far as like 1,600 square kilometers. Like that's how much. And basically one of the things that they said was if a flood even rose to like a certain amount, and if it's at 1,600 square kilometers, it means that because of the curvature of the earth, you would look out and it would seem that there is only water and there is no land. Like that, because remember, the earth curves. So if it was 1,600 square kilometers of flooding, it would seem like the entire world was covered by water, right? So that's a quite interesting thing. So what would be the explanation of how this is scientifically consistent? Okay. So like I said, first thing is the good thing about this newcomer is since they're asking for evidence like this, it means that it's pretty much 100% that they don't believe in a worldwide flood. Because there's no way they would ask for this and then just say, nope, I believe in the worldwide flood. Because now it means that they really, really want evidence. Okay. The second thing about this is, what does the evidence really say? So does the evidence say that this flood was of that magnitude, which would be 20 feet over the highest mountain in that region would be Mount Ararat, which is 16,000 feet, right? The interesting thing is the only evidence we can go by. So like, I'll tell you this, I don't know what the scientific explanation is. The only thing I know that is actual evidence is the ark that they said they found on Mount Ararat. The altitude of that was 13,000 feet, right? Which means that if the boat is 13,000 feet on Mount Ararat, 3,000 feet from the top of the mountain, it would say, just from that evidence alone, that the waters reached at least that height, right? So personally, I don't know if it was actually literally above Mount Ararat, but one evidence we do have is we don't know if it's sure the ark, but it's a boat that is that big, according to the scale of what the Bible says how big Noah's Ark is, but it's found at 13,000 feet above sea level, right? So if you just look at that, it would be impossible for a boat to reach 13,000 feet if the water didn't reach that height, assuming that really, really was Noah's Ark, right? So at this moment, like I can tell the newcomer, I don't have any scientifically consistent evidence, or I'm sorry, not evidence, explanation, but we do have evidence. The evidence itself, it's kind of like this. Like even if you don't know how something happened, just the fact that it's there doesn't mean it didn't happen. You have that there. The boat is there, which means something did happen that raised the level of this boat, which is always on water, to 13,000 feet. So that in itself is evidence. even though I cannot give the actual scientific explanation on it, the evidence there itself is there is a boat up there at the 13,000 feet level. Now, is it possible that it was much lower, but over the past 4,000 or 5,000 years, like how mountains are made, the tectonic plates come together and they push the mountain to get higher and higher? Is that possible? Absolutely, which means it could be a little bit lower too, right? So that is something that I thought was a very, very good question. I don't have the scientific explanation, but all we have is that evidence of Noah's Ark at 13,000 feet above sea level, which means there has to be some water that raised at least to that height. Okay, so that would be what I would tell them. Okay, but like I said, that newcomer is thinking in the right way, that that they're looking for evidence, which means that they definitely don't believe in the worldwide flood. Right? They're either gonna not believe in the worldwide flood, or they're not gonna believe the Bible at all. It's gonna be one of those two, right? Because if they want to see the evidence. Okay. Second question, interesting question, because it has to do with my podcast. It says, my decision to set up my broadcast, was my decision made with Sunsteam? And the answer is no. And I think I answered it last time. Right? Like I wasn't sitting there constantly asking Sunsteam about it. And if we're going to be very truthful, almost every online ministry that is happening in Korea, which is hundreds of channels, are not all decided with Sunsteam. It's not. Right? Like, yeah, like even Kara's channel, opening channel, like this, the only ones, like there's no one getting Sunsteam's permission to start an online ministry, even in Korea. It's just, hey, let's get this going, let's move, and they're just pushing online ministry, and it's just starting, and they just want people to start starting channels and see who does well and who doesn't well, and who to support and who not to support and stuff like that too. Well, not so much who not to support, but they're searching for who to support, right? So normal members, whether it's church-based or anything else, social media, whatever it is, you don't need approval. Even from churches, they're not getting approval. They're just doing it, right? There's no prior approval. It's just when they start it, they'll probably report it to Sunsteam, but there's not going to be like Sunsteam saying, nope, you can't start it or you can't do this. It's just starting. And that's why there's hundreds and hundreds of channels even in Korea, right? So, this kind of goes back to, I would have to say, it's kind of an old school thinking that you need approval for every single thing that you do. And I think already people have talked about it from my last, what I talked about the other day, is you don't need approval for everything you do. What, do you need approval for your business that you do? Do you need approval for this or that? You don't, right? People are just starting it. They want to get things going and moving. It's going to be a 2 to 3 year project just to see how these channels open up and do well, right? So anyone is starting online ministry. People report it, but there's no, I want permission from Sunsteam to do this, and everyone just starts waiting for it. No, you have hundreds of channels all over Korea, and even some of them are kind of done in a very unwise way, where they're just posting up Sunsteam's videos and stuff, which is very, very unwise. But, the Internet Ministry Department is like slowly working on this one by one, right? I think it's smart not to do it this way or smart to do, but it's got to start. And it's a great start if you have hundreds of channels going out there right now, right? So, no, even churches won't even sit there saying, all right, everyone, start internet, social media, and I want you to report everything to me. No, people just start it. They get inspired, and they're like, oh, we're going to start a channel, and they start it. But they're not getting permission to do it like this too. So there's no prior approval for online ministry or anything like that. So it's just starting. So I hope that answers your question. Now, a second part of this question says, where can I verify the part that you mentioned? It's Sunsteam's last will of reaching 1 million people through social media. Because someone kind of thinks you made this up, and I really trust and rely too much on this channel. Okay, so I did make a correction on this a few weeks ago. Okay, so do you remember the time I talked about the doctor that was doing these testimonies? Okay, so the doctor was the one that lived with Sunsteam for 6 months, and I made a correction, right? So the doctor testified that before Sunsteam was taken into custody, he said that the last thing he said before going in, he said, my heart will be grieved if I do not preach to 1 million people before I die. Okay? So what Sunseem really, really wants to do is to preach to 1 million people before he dies. Okay? So the part that was, I would say, that people insinuated and people saying, oh, this is the only way to get to this 1 million people and this is why internet ministry became so huge, that internet ministry is now such an important part because this is going to be the way that Sunseem can preach to these 1 million newcomers out there. Right? So Sunseem wants to preach to 1 million people before he dies. And the insinuation and the interpretation even that we got was internet ministry is going to be the way and the best way for this to happen. It's not going to happen through street evangelism. We're going to have 1 million people for someone to preach to, for Sunseem to preach to. Sunseem will be able to preach to 1 million people if we can get, this is why, like for instance, this is why internet ministry is pushing so hard. And this is why there's hundreds of channels. That if we can gather that many people, we can fulfill Sunseem's dream to get 1 million people preached to. Because think about this. Do you really think there's going to be 1 million people standing in a stadium or in a park where Sunseem will sit there and just preach to all of them? No, it's going to be done through the internet, right? So this is why the people who told me about it were saying this is why internet ministry is so important, because we need to fulfill the 1 million people that Sunseem needs to preach to. Right? And this is why internet ministry is such a big thing right now also. All right? Does that make sense? I did talk about this after I talked about the doctor's testimony, but hopefully this clears it up a little better for you guys too. Okay? Last question is talking about a newcomer that's learning the word and then suddenly they're in a bad condition. Okay? So how do we deal with this? And, now that they have tons of questions, how do we deal with this? And I don't know exactly the full situation. I don't know if they've maybe gone through something traumatic. Maybe they saw slander. Maybe they have a history of mental illness or maybe weak mental health. I'm not sure what it is. And, the one thing that I think is more of an excuse is if someone says, oh, what if they hear the slander or hear or read bad things on the internet? My take is it doesn't matter. That's what I really feel. I don't think slander and these websites really make a difference in my thinking, right? For the general public. Think about all of us listening to MSD right now. Look at all the people remaining from 2023, which is the vast, vast, vast majority, like 90% are still remaining. And of us, from all the things that happened last year, almost all of us saw and heard the slander and we're fine. Yes, we went through a rough patch, but we understood what was going on. We understand the words really well, and we were very thoughtful, not jumping to conclusion, not reacting emotionally, taking things slowly and waiting for more information to come out, which is what the most rational, reasonable person would do. Look at everyone right now who's listening to MSD. We all heard the rumors. We all heard what was happening, but we didn't jump to any conclusions or freak out. If you really think about all the things that happened in 2023, the majority of people are fine, right? We just went through a rough patch. The issue we are dealing with is whether someone is mentally mature enough to handle this or not. So you're going to have a small group of people that may not be able to handle it. Right? So let me give you a bad sign of someone who may be mentally unstable or mentally immature. Is someone who swings, like super into the word, they love it so much, they get inspired, they feel the Holy Spirit, and then all of a sudden it's just like they're swept, they're like, oh my gosh, I heard something bad, oh, I read something here and this, and then they completely forget everything they just learned and they go completely the opposite. So they're super high and then super low. That's a sign of that's immaturity in their mentality. That reminds me of Proverbs 26, verse 11 that says, as a dog returns to its vomit, a fool repeats his folly. Right? A dog vomits its food, walks away, comes back and forgets that he was the one that vomited it, and he starts eating its own vomit. He forgot. He's repeating his own folly. And some newcomers are going to do what? they're going to listen to the word. They're going to feel so much grace and love. And then once they hear something bad, they forget all the grace and love they actually received and all of a sudden say that it's completely bad. The person forgets all the grace they received. They forget all the word that they heard, and then they say it was never real. And I'm going to say these people are probably in the unstable or mentally immature state, right? And then, of course, there are some people who have, mental issues, and that's something that's a completely different thing. But, I would really look at what the message said last week. What type of people are you evangelizing, right? If you see them unstable, do you really think they're the right person to come to this history? Or are we going to be like people, like our ancestors who just evangelize just because we need to evangelize, and they just evangelize anyone they want, right? If a person doesn't have any reason or rationale, they're swept up by what they feel more than what is true. And I would say you should think twice or very carefully before going any further with these types of newcomers. Think about this. How many times have you dealt with someone that's so unstable emotionally, right? It's frustrating. They're up one moment, down the next. Happy one moment, then they're sad. They're very unstable. These types of people, they will try to find everything wrong with the word, right? When they're on their spiritual down. And even if you give an answer, it makes no difference because they're not going to believe it anyways. There is no reason or rationale guiding them. It's like a rudderless boat. They just go the direction of the waves, toss them here and there. And these people really have to snap out of it first before anything else. It's not like some people be like, no, how do we answer all these questions? The answer is you don't need to. As long as they're in that state, they're never going to really, really listen to your answers. And that's just reality. And if you talk to them while they're in that state, all your efforts will be in vain. They will, right? So that's why I'm telling you guys, it does make a difference, right? And I hope it's something that we really, really get to understand better, okay? So yeah, those are the 3 questions for today's Q&A Thursday. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. Would love to hear what you guys are thinking about other things too, okay? So without further ado, before getting into today's Sermons in the Sky that's done by Pastor David Baker, let's get into the last music break of the day.
2023. We've all come a long way. Many different stories, but we're all on the same journey. Many, many ups and downs, but we're all still around. Many, many, many lessons, but each one came with a blessing. Let's not forget for where we come from when we make this confession. Some people just want to watch the world burn. As for you and I, let's set ourselves on fire, shine a light so bright that will make the people say, burning life, Look at the flames in my eyes, watch it burn, but don't stare too long, you might lose your sight. Some people gunning for our downfall, but they'll never see our demise. Burning life, who's the one? I'm the one, he's the one. Are you the one? No, we're the ones who keep the fire going till the day we die, till they see the light, make it bright, till we hear the people say, born sinner, never could be ill. I know I'm back from the dead, yeah, the Lord is my healer. I took the red pill, that's why I call him teacher. When you learn about the spirit, oh, there ain't nothing realer. The one you learn from determines your entire destiny. Learn from the one who taught about eternity. Cloud craving, paper chasing, the joy is only temporary. I don't wanna do the same thing, so I hard to count the vanity. I keep my eyes on the prize. I'll never sell my soul to the devil in disguise. With both hands on each side, I'm holding on to dear life. I keep my guard up, never back down. When it goes down, I call on the Christ. Spiritual battle, answer the call. It's Call of Duty, modern warfare, put the armor of God. They're fighting Lucy with a rock. I got atomic bombs, love the Lord your God and all your brothers once your demons fall. Don't be deceived, know who the ops is. Keep the unity and peace, go far way across this. Came to preach the word of God like I'm born in Tarsus. Here to testify the things I've seen on road to Damascus. He's the real deal, the real thing. Be glad you heard the King's speech. Blessed are those who reach the end and get to hear the Lord speak. GODs, POC, we fulfilled everything. Burning life, kerosene, burning life, legacy.
You will never see me stop in the future. The life that fulfills God's will continue. Everyone thinks I'm unfortunate because I go through suffering. But inside of me it's different. Because I walk the path of eternal life.
burning life. Look at the flames in my eyes, watch it burn, but don't stare too long, you might lose your sight. Some people gunning for a downfall, but they'll never see our demise. Burning life. Who's the one? I'm the one, he's the one. Are you the one? No, we're the ones who keep the fire going till the day we die, till they see the light, make it bright, till we hear the people say,
like Mary poured out her perfume on Jesus' feet, I must pour out my heart, mind, and love on the one who saved me.
Okay, so let's get into today's final segment. There's something we do look forward to, and today, once again, is Pastor David Baker. Has amazing sermons. Hope you guys really enjoy this. And he's using a new mic, the new mic that I gave him, so it's going to be much better in quality. Everyone, please welcome all the way over there in Korea. This is Pastor David Baker with Sermons in the Sky.
Hello to everyone in the MSD community. This is Pastor David in South Korea. I sincerely hope you are doing well and fulfilling God's purpose of creation in your lives. One of the key scriptures this week is Proverbs 13:12, which says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life." I want to testify and give glory to God for fulfilling a deep longing in my family. And then I'll share about how the Trinity fulfilled Sunsinam's deep longing as well. In 2011, my family received an incredible blessing, and we'll get to that. But let's start with me praying desperately on a jumbo jet during an overnight flight to Korea. The lights were turned off, and most of the passengers were sleeping. I, however, was praying, pleading with the Lord for a response. I knew that as soon as I arrived in Korea, my wife was going to ask me, "Well, did you get an answer?" And up to that point, I had not. Despite 6 weeks of consistent prayer, I hadn't received any inspiration or confirmation, and I was wondering, why isn't God answering me? So, what was my prayer on the airplane all about? In 2010, my wife went to Korea for the summer to spend time with her family, to visit Warmyeondong, and she took our 2 young boys, who were 5 and 7 years old. Right before leaving for Korea, she implored me, "Honey, please pray to get an answer from God about having a daughter." She'd been pleading with me for a daughter for about 4 years. This was a really deep longing for my wife. But for me, it wasn't an easy question to answer. Let me explain why. My wife had gotten quite ill for an extended period of time after our second son was born. And though her health eventually returned to normal, doctors said another childbirth could make the condition recur even more seriously. There was a significant health risk to having a third child, and I was content. We had 2 happy, healthy boys. We were so blessed, and that's why I was cautious. I wanted to protect my wife's health, and I was asking, was it worth the risk when we had already received so much? And so for the next 6 weeks, for most of the summer, I prayed, but I got no answer, no inspiration, just crickets. And that's how I found myself flying to South Korea, eager to reconnect with my family, but also praying desperately for an answer. Fortunately, this time I got a response. In my heart, clear as can be, I heard Jesus say, "You have to trust me, and you have to trust your wife." After hearing the Lord's voice, I felt totally at peace about having a third child. I thought, it's okay to have a daughter. And I was so thankful to have this issue resolved. And upon landing, I let my wife know. She was so happy to get this news. Fast forward 2 weeks later, our time in Korea was almost over, and we were staying at my mother-in-law's apartment. That night, there was a huge monsoon. The rain, the wind were howling outside, and everyone was getting ready to sleep in their separate rooms. Just before I turned out the light, I heard a voice say, "Her name is Gloria." This was not like the voice I heard in my heart on the plane. That was internal and soft. This was out loud, like it came from a speaker, a loudspeaker. And I quickly said to my wife, "Did you hear that?" She responded, "No, what happened?" And I told her I heard a voice say out loud, "Her name is Gloria." And she was so amazed and told me something that I didn't know. For the past few months, she had been setting condition prayer to have a daughter. She'd promised God countless times, saying, "God, if you give me a daughter, I'll make sure she gives glory to you with her whole life." And this was incredible to both of us. The name I heard perfectly matched her consistent prayer about giving glory to God. And then my wife said, "Maybe I'm pregnant with a daughter." A month later, we found out that she was, and ultrasound confirmed it was a girl. The lesson I want to share from this story is that our happiness and hope was fulfilled within God's will, in God's purpose of creation. This week's message said, "Once it is fulfilled, it is hope." And that was the case for us. It was exactly how we felt after having our daughter Gloria. We can't thank the Trinity and Lord enough for this blessing and fulfilling our hope. I want to end this message by reminding everybody about a deep longing of Sunsingham's. And it's about how he realized the purpose of creation and the fall. As you probably heard, these two topics were revealed not long before Sunsingham left his hometown and began preaching in Seoul. They were two of the last big seals that were opened up. Sunsingham said he prayed 5,300 times over a couple decades before he finally received an answer about the purpose of creation and the fall. Personally, I'm blown away when I think of the kind of dedication it takes to pray for years without ceasing, without getting an answer, and to keep asking God to reveal those deep secrets about God's history, God's heart, and the true path for humanity. How much joy did Sunsingham have when he finally got confirmation from Jesus that his realizations about the purpose of creation and the fall were correct? Sunsingham said when he came out of the cave after this realization, he hit his hand repeatedly on a rock because he couldn't contain his overflowing joy. And if we go to the next level, let's think about how much joy and relief does God experience when he sees people in Providence living as counterparts of love and fulfilling the purpose of creation, both personally and in their families. With all this in mind, let's give thanks to the Trinity for allowing us to live knowing the truth. Let's use every ounce of our strength and each moment of time to fulfill God's purpose of creation. As the message said this week, our hope, joy, and purpose are contained within the Trinities. So let's focus on the right things and make every day count. Let's end with a prayer. Beloved Lord, Holy Trinity, we thank you for each and every blessing you give us. We are the most fortunate people, having been called as your brides and knowing the truth of your new history. Let us honor what we have received and pour our effort into expanding this joyful community centered on the one you sent and the word of life that guides us every day. We thank you, we give all the glory to you, and we ask these blessings in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you have an awesome week fulfilling the purpose of creation with the Lord and Trinity. Take care, and God bless you all.
And thank you so much, Pastor Baker, for a wonderful Sermons in the Sky. I know that a lot of people were inspired and moved by this too, and we're looking forward to your future sermons also with this amazing mic. It sounds great and really clear too. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is this week's Sermons in the Sky. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. Have an amazing and awesome Thursday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion.